Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel where we do painting tutorials. Today I have a very easy beginner-friendly watercolor landscape. I've taped down my paper with some masking tape so it stays flat because I will be painting wet on wet. I've started by wetting the entire background of my painting except the mountains. You can wet those or skip them, it does not really matter. I prepare a big wash of cadmium red hue and cobalt blue hue. You can use normal cadmium and cobalt. I just prefer to use the synthetic hues here. I apply a little dot of cadmium yellow pale hue in the top center of my painting for some sunlight, and I let that diffuse into the mixture, into this a very nice bright brownish orangey mix. And I also add some more yellow beneath it because I want a big river, so it is going to reflect the sunlight. Then I take a napkin, I fold it a couple of times onto itself, and with the edge I pick up a small dot from the top center from that sun we painted to add a very easy highlight. And I also do some random taps with my napkin onto the river. Once it's about 50% dry, I went in with the same mix of cadmium red hue and cobalt blue hue, and I painted some mountains or some hills on either side. Just some very faint shapes so far. Once it has fully dried, I go back in and slightly give them a bit more definition. Feel free to tilt your paper, your sketchbook, however feels comfortable to you. For me, it's better to work at an angle, so sorry for the headshot right there. Some people even find it comfortable to tape their paper onto some MDF boards and use that so they can tilt it however they find comfortable instead of just taping down your paper onto your desk. I like to get a very crisp edge beneath my mountains with the edge of a napkin. That's a very easy technique to get straight lines. And with a bit more pigment from my red and blue, I slightly darken the second mountain, the one we have closer to us, because since it is closer, you start getting a bit more saturation, you start getting a bit more definition there. I dip my brush into my water jar. I don't thoroughly clean it, there is still excess paint left on it, and I use that excess paint to swipe under each mountain to add a very easy reflection beneath them. I mix more of the same exact red and blue, and I use it to paint our final mountain, which is the closest one to us. I like to first get the edges, the outlines, and then I fill it in with paint. Keep in mind, watercolor does dry lighter than what it looks when you apply it, so you may want to use less water for the closer objects to us. That way you get more saturated results. And of course, the opposite is true. If you add more water, it is going to dry very faint. Now, while my mountain is still wet, I go in with some more cobalt blue on the slopes to add some shadows to it, because like I said, the closer we get, the more definition we get. And I again dip my brush into my water jar and use the excess paint to paint the shadow beneath the mountain. Well, more like the reflection, but you get what I mean. I wanted to show this part right here because the top corners dried a little bit funky, and it's very easy to fix. A lot of beginners get discouraged, but you just need to go in with a wet brush, gently rub it in without peeling the paper, and tap it with a napkin. That is going to fix the unevenness you may get when you're using beginner-friendly art supplies, studio quality, beginner quality. It's just a very easy way to salvage a painting, so that's why I want to insert that in there. Now, once everything is fully dried, I take again more of my red and blue, and I do these large flick motions with my brush to get some grass, some flowers, some foliage that I want to frame this entire painting. I just hold my brush straight perpendicular to the paper and I flick it either to the left, to the right. I make some pieces larger, some smaller, some are taller, some go to the left, some go to the right. The key is variety here. And then I tap on the tops of some of them to add, I don't know, maybe some flowers, just to make it look less flat and more detailed without actually putting in the effort. Now I did switch to a tinier brush right here. This is a normal, I believe it's a number 6 synthetic brush by DaVinci. The reason of me switching to a smaller brush is it does not hold much water, which means I can also get more pigment from my paints because less water equals more pigment or more saturation. And I want these grass plates to be very dark, so that is why. I continue adding them on the right side of my painting. Then without really dipping my brush into the water jar, I mix more of those two colors. I want to paint a little crane right in the center of my painting on that last hill we did. For the crane, its body is like an almond shape and the head is like a reversed S letter, so I hope that helps. If not, there is going to be a traceable available at my Patreon page, Sunshine Arts, where we also do full-time tutorials, digital downloads, and that kind of goodies. If you're interested in further supporting me and the channel, links are going to be available down below. Now lastly, I just slowly peel off my tape from my sketchbook, going in the opposite direction to avoid any ripping, and that is it. I'd like to give a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters for the month of June, and thank you all for watching. I hope you found this video useful, and we'll see each other in the next one. Bye bye!